Hello class, this is a brief video to outline uh, our first paper of English 111 and some key elements in writing papers that you will take with you for the entire semester. First, as you do essay number 1, close response number 1, make sure that you attach the document in the writing assignments section of Blackboard. You may also find a link to the assignment portal in the weekly folders unit. As you upload the assignment, never upload a Pages document or Google document. You should upload a PDF or Word document. If you're using Google Docs, you are able to save your documents as PDF and then upload those. For more about uploading assignments to Blackboard, watch the video and read the instructions in the Writing Assignment section of the course Blackboard. After you have submitted your assignment, you may check your email to see if you have received a submission ticket. This is your receipt for turning in the assignment. You may also check the My Grade section of Blackboard. If you see a blue circle, that means you have not submitted the assignment. You have only saved it. You must submit the assignment for me to be able to grade it. If for any reason you have made a mistake, simply resubmit your assignment. However, note, I will only ever grade the last assignment you have submitted. This paper and all of the papers that we will write for English 111 will use MLA format. Here you have an example of how the MLA format first page should look. Here are some key things to note. On the left-hand side, you should have your name, my name, the course section number, and date you submit the assignment. Next, you should have your title. Then you will start the paper proper and make sure that you are indenting every paragraph. You must double space the entire paper. You must not use bold, and then you must also use in-text MLA citation to reference anytime you're using ideas or quotes from Elliott's plays. For more information regarding MLA citation, check the MLA citation and information section of the course Blackboard. So, at its core, this assignment asks you to present a theme in Zetta Elliott's play or plays and then defend the importance of that theme using evidence. Here are the 5 plays that we have read for this section of the course. Each of these has their own unique theme. As we talked about last week, you can see how some of these plays group together to share common topics and ideas, even if the themes are slightly different. Please take time to watch last week's recording if you have not done so, where we talk about how the plays can work together. Also, feel free to download the PowerPoint connected to this video to refresh your memory on these themes. Let us now discuss the essay proper. As what you are writing in this close response is a literary analysis paper. Like all papers in college, the literary analysis has its own rules and guidelines that make it slightly different from other papers you may have written. At its core, this assignment asks you to do 3 things well. 1, have a thesis statement that clearly addresses a theme from Zetta Elliott's plays or play. Use evidence to support that theme, and then document your evidence with MLA format and citation. These are the 3 main categories on which your work will be assessed. So if we look at the essay, every essay should have an introduction, body, and conclusion. What I've provided you here on this slide is what should go in each section of your paper. In your introduction, your body, and your conclusion. In your introduction, the first thing you must do is introduce the author and the play or plays you have selected. Then you must present your thesis statement. Your thesis statement should be the last sentence of your introduction. That's it. That's all you put in the introduction of the paper. The next section of your paper will be your body paragraphs. In order to successfully pass the assignment, you should have at least 2 body paragraphs. In each body paragraph, you should provide an introduction of the play and explain how the theme relates to your thesis statement, and then use the 3-step process of using evidence. Shortly, we will discuss this 3-step process for using evidence. So you would do that twice. You would repeat these same goals, these same tasks for each body paragraph. Finally, the last section of your paper will be a conclusion where you will restate the thesis statement and explain what Elliott wants people to learn from her plays. So let's look at the thesis statement that will go in the last sentence of your introduction. Thesis statements in literary analysis papers are all about addressing the theme from a reading and stating why that theme is important. Right? What about Zetta Elliott's plays and her themes represent her ideas about society? To help you figure out the themes, you can watch the videos of our discussion of the plays, but also think about the characters, the tone, the setting, the symbolism, the metaphors, all the things that we've talked about that express Elliott's ideas and help you get what she wants you to understand. Now, the key thing about the theme is always being able to express the idea behind the actions. Themes are never just plot details. All right. To help you write your first thesis statement, I have provided with you a template. You may use this template or you may not. Okay? It depends on you. You do not have to use the template that we're walking here. However, if you choose to use this template, you can use this tactic of what we call a because clause. A because clause is a type of thesis statement that helps you express the ideas behind your statement. So we have an example. The theme of blank is vital to Zetta Elliott's play blank because of blank. Now you would fill in the blanks with your ideas about what the theme of that play is and why it's important to Elliott. Right? So you would have the theme placed here, and then you would have in the last blank why this theme is important to Elliott. And then if you want to write about 2 plays, here is the same structure, but just with the different blanks. So, to repeat, you would put the theme you have selected in the first blank, the title of the play in the second blank, and the reason why the theme is important to Elliott. What is Elliott trying to say to you, the reader, about this theme? That is your goal of your thesis statement, which I will repeat again, should go in the last sentence of your introduction. So let's now move in to explaining how to use evidence in your body paragraphs. Now, for each of your body paragraphs, you're going to have to use a quote from Elliott's piece as a piece of evidence. Right? And whenever we're going to use quotes, from now on, we are going to use a 3-step process. Every single time you quote, I want you to follow these 3 steps for every single time. First step, introduce the quotation. No quote can be its own sentence. You, the writer, always has to introduce the quote by explaining the context, or at the very least, naming the character who is talking. If we look at these examples here, we see how none of these here are its own sentence. All right. All of these have a bit where the author has introduced the quote. And this is what you must do. All right. Provide the context surrounding the quote you are given. That is step number 1. Step number 2 is to accurately quote the passage. You do not need to cite complete sentences or entire passages. Right? Do not use two full quotations in a row without your explanation. Right? So quote what is written on the page exactly as you see it. Make sure you do not have any misspellings or incorrect information in the quoted material. Step 3. After you have introduced your quote, accurately quoted it, you now move on to the most important step of using evidence. That is your explanation. Anytime you explain a quote, I want you to do two things. First, right after the quote, you should explain specific words from the quote and why they are important to the scene in the play. Nobody who is reading your paper will understand what's important about the quote you use unless you tell them yourself. You must say what is the most important part of this quote. Why is it important to the character? Why is it important to the story? Why is this quote important? That is step number 1. Step number 2, after explaining what is important about the quoted material, you should then explain why the quote relates to your main idea and thesis statement. A good rule of thumb is that you should always have more explanation of a quote than quoted material in any paragraph. So, step 3 requires you to explain what is important about the quote, then explain how this quote relates to your thesis statement. So let's look at an example paragraph that puts all three of these things together. So what you have presented to you here is an example of a successful body paragraph for paper number 1. Now, moving forward, since I have given you this example, you may not use this moment in self-preservation. Right? You may use other moments in self-preservation, but you may not use this moment. So let's take a look at how this body paragraph is constructed. First, we have the sentence that introduces the play and connects the importance back to the thesis statement. The importance of not appropriating cultures is vital to Elliott's play. Next, in the red, we have the introduction to the quote. Look how this author provided the context surrounding the last sentence of Elliott's play. Right? Someone who may not have read the play will, or has read the play and it has been a while since they have read it, will understand exactly what is happening due to the context provided by the author. Next, after the quote and MLA in-text citation, the author then explains in green what is important about that quote. Look at how much this author could write about one single word, telling the reader why it's important that Jack uses this word in the play. This is step 1 of explaining evidence. And then in the blue, the author connects the quote back to their thesis statement in the paper. All right. So see how we have a body paragraph that introduces an idea, provides context for evidence, explains what is important about that evidence, and then explains how that evidence relates back to a thesis statement. So this is an example of a type of body paragraph that I would consider a successful paragraph written by a student. So to conclude, here is the structure for close response number 1 on Elliott's plays. In your introduction, you need to introduce the author and the play or plays you have selected to write about. The last sentence of your introduction must be your thesis statement. Your body paragraphs, of which you will need at least 2 to successfully complete the assignment, must introduce the play, explain how this idea connects to the theme you suggested in the thesis statement. Then use our 3-step process for using evidence. Right? You will do this for each body paragraph. In the conclusion, you will restate your thesis statement and then explain to me what what Elliott wants people to learn from her plays. As always, you may download the PowerPoint for this video and use this structure presented here to complete your paper. Good luck, and I will talk to you in our next session.